Yeah.
we're going to talk about Warriors Way first, and then we're going to talk
Yep.
about how you got there.
Yep.
So, all right. So I'm going to start in three, two, two, one. All right. Welcome back to the Melton Forge Works podcast. Today I have my good friend Jeff Dauterman, and we're going to talk about Warriors Way and how he got started, and Palmgren Tools, and all kinds of other cool stuff, and probably just talk a lot about bladesmithing and blacksmithing and all the stuff that goes around that. But really, what I want to do first is just let Jeff tell you who he is, where he's at, and what he's involved with.
Hi, my name's Jeff Dauterman. I am actually in automation and engineering for my day job. And then I am a novice. I would say I'm a novice maker. I just like to tinker around. I use it for the therapy, and we'll get into that. And I live in Ohio, and I remote for the company I work for, so I'm all over the country, and it's a pretty cool thing.
So automate let me ask you about your day job real quick. What do you mean by automation? What's
So
an
we
average day for you at your real job?
average day, I wake up, I take my daughter to school, I get home, get ready, and then I sit down at a desk and I punch out a ton of emails, make a bunch of phone calls, do a lot of Teams calls, and then I'll plan trips to go to Michigan, to California, Colorado, Texas, Florida. Those are just some of the places I've been. Tennessee,
Hmm.
Indiana. So like my job's taken me all over the place in the last couple of years, and I truly enjoy talking about robotic cells and describing how it doesn't take people's jobs. It actually gives the facility more production based on being able to disperse operators into meaningful tasks versus the monotonous day-to-day things that can be repetitive. So,
So are you guys getting into like AI robotics at some point?
oh man, yeah,
Oh
totally.
wow.
AI, vision, it's 4D vision. Like it has the ability in like zero point 0.3 nanoseconds to scan the bin, calculate all the coordinates, and it's active. So like if it can't find it, it'll rescan and it'll repopulate all of the coordinates and all the waypoints that the robot needs to go pick up, place, and do things. And then the scanning in the cameras, 2D, 3D, 4D, it's all incredible how it goes in and then it's populated on the backside through all of the
Hmm.
what I like to call the magic.
That's pretty that's pretty crazy. It's funny, it's just hit me. I work in IT,
Yeah.
and I've talked to a lot of people who are in the blacksmithing and bladesmithing world who their day job is some kind of high tech, industry. And then when they get home, they relax by heating and beating, you know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting how many people are in that scenario. So that's cool. That's cool. So how often are you traveling? I know you just got back
Um,
from Texas.
yeah, I just got back in December. Um, I'm going up to Michigan and then I'm headed to Florida in the next 30 days. I'll probably take anywhere from 12 to 15 trips a year.
Oh wow.
Those are just pure business trips, and then I'll take a couple with Warriors Way on top of that. So my wife is amazing beyond anything I can describe. She's pretty patient with me.
Yeah, I would imagine. All right, well that's cool. So, what is Warrior's Way? If you had to sum Warrior's Way up in a sentence, what is Warrior's Way?
So if I had to do an elevator spiel about what Warriors Way is, it is a group. David started it to help with his PTSD and his TBIs that he has and his integration back into society, and he really struggled and he couldn't cope with a lot of things. So he had to get that frustration, that anger, all of the things out and finding that purpose again. You know, you these guys and gals come over back from the military and they're lost. They have done some of the craziest things while serving and the most meaningful things of their lives, and then they come home to nothing. They come home, and I'm not talking about family, I'm not talking about friends, I'm talking about purpose in life. And that
Sure.
is
Yeah.
what truly making a knife with your own two hands and the equipment, it's really rewarding at the end of the day. And the hyper focus and the attention deficits that a lot of them have, they come in and they hyper focus and tune out, and it ties into our suicide prevention watch for the
Mm,
veterans. That's that we cap it there because we can't be everything to everyone, but we try to be as much as we can to those that
yeah.
we serve.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's, that kind of goes back to what I was just talking about with, people in high tech jobs. I work in healthcare IT, which
yeah,
at times can be stressful. It's a 24/7 environment. The hospital never closes, and there's
right.
something about going out to the blacksmith shop and just working with my hands where I don't have to think a lot. I don't have to worry about, I'm not under any deadline. There's not some system that's down that I'm trying to get back up, because users are screaming at me and all that kind of stuff. It's just me and the work. And so
Yeah.
I think there's something really about, working with your hands in that way. And there's something about forging that just is really pretty cathartic. I think it's such an ancient craft that I don't know if it ignites something inside of us that's, it's been around a long, long time.
Oh, everyone connects to it in such a different way, and I think that's the thing, like you're talking about. That's the beauty in what blacksmithing and bladesmithing truly is. Everyone connects on a certain level, whether you're a beginner or you're an expert or you're part of the 1% of some of the people we know that are just mind-boggling. They're talented. They do things that you couldn't even fathom. Well,
Hmm.
that same feeling happens for those at the beginning. And
Yeah.
when you're going through a struggle, everything just disappears in a good way. You blank out, time disappears, your frustrations go away, and you find this sense of calm and peace that for most people they never get.
Hmm. You guys are you in a new building or are you moving to a new building?
So
I,
we
I just saw
signed.
something recently about that.
Yeah, no, we just signed December 15th, I think, last year in to signed over the building, and Dave's working on it right now with a local veteran that's helping. They're gutting the small building, and then we have to raise money to get the concrete poured and finished. But once we get that done, it's going to be, I think it's 40 by 60 feet, so it's like three times the size of our shop now. So it's insane, the
Huh.
goals and the things that we have going on. We just started a youth archery program that we will now be able to house inside during the winter,
Oh,
and
nice.
outdoors in the back of the property. It's 1.7 acres, so we'll be able to have an outdoor thing, do a whole bunch of
Hmm.
3D targets and a whole bunch of stuff like the tree stand effect. We're going to have a couple platforms built, so it's going to be a pretty cool thing.
Oh, that's awesome. I was looking at the
Yeah,
website, and on the website there's a panorama shot of the workspace that you guys are in now, and it's like
yeah.
it looks like, I don't know, two, four, six or seven anvils and forges and pretty cool layout where you've got multiple workstations. How many people can you have in a class right now?
So we had to drop it to five, because it's just 5-on-1 for the instructor portion of it. It's really
Yeah,
hard to
that's
get
a
more people in there. That's a
yeah,
lot. So
yeah. It's hard to pay attention as an instructor. It's hard to give more than that number of students enough attention, unless you have more instructors. So that's
totally
four to
agree
one,
with you.
5 to 1. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
Um, hmm, that's awesome. So when do you think you guys are gonna like host your first class there?
we're hoping, we're hoping that the electric gets done. They button up the walls with drywall. They want to try to paint it before we go in, but March 1st.
Okay.
That's a heavy goal. January is ticking away fast, and then February is going to be null and void for some personal reasons on our side. But we're hoping either sometime in March, and then we're really hoping to be over there.
Okay. So, what is your actual role with Warriors Way?
So it
Do you have a
started
title? Do
as
you have an actual title, or
so
how does
I
this
it's
work?
it's chief marketing officer, and we've kind of added the civilian liaison into it because it really is a weird thing. Dave has a Dave's really good with people, but in a public setting with civilians, there's just a different feel for him, and that's the world I live in, and that's kind of where him and I are. That yin and yang, you
Hmm.
know, Starsky and Hutch type
Yeah.
feeling. Like it's Batman and Robin, however you want to call it, like the dynamic duo. He does the veteran stuff, I do the civilian stuff, and then it all marries together.
Okay. Cool. So you've got two full-time jobs, a family, and you've got your own home shop where you try to bang stuff out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it,
You got a
it's
lot of
crazy.
irons in the fire.
Yeah, that's why I joke about being a novice maker because I just don't have the time, and if anything suffers or I'll throw anything to the wayside, it's always my personal making that I'll
Hmm.
just push off to the side because I'll never the devotion that I've given to what Warriors Way is second or third. My job's second and my family's first,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's no other way around it. So it really it's a lot going on throughout the year.
It sounded like it. I was starting to put together all these pieces. I was like, man, no, he's traveling all the time. He's working with Warriors Way, and and he's got a family, a growing family. So that's a lot. That's a lot going on. What is your what is your favorite part of the Warriors Way thing? Or have you had something that stands out to you as like, we had this one guy come through and this was so cool about it? Or what's what do you have a wow moment with Warriors Way? I'm sure there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. We can't share all of them, which is tough just for
That's
the
true. Yeah, I guess that's right.
sensitivity. So I always revert back to David's story. When I met his wife and we talked about it, we came home from Blade Show a couple of years ago. We talked about it. I was having the time of my life running around talking to all of these people on Instagram and all these things and all these cool people. And David sat at the table that we had whatever you call that. We had our booth there,
Yeah.
and he didn't move all weekend. We didn't sell any
Hmm.
knives, nothing. Like it, I every time I came back to check in, like he was just like quiet as a church mouse. And
Hmm.
so I started to feel really guilty. And I'm like, man, you want to come out? You want to go do your thing, talk to people? Like I'm talking to our sponsors and all the trying to get new sponsors, do these things. And he's just sitting there the whole time. And so we got our whole way home. He's just, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm just tired. It's just a lot to breathe in an environment
Hmm.
where you got a couple thousand people throughout the weekend. I talked to his wife and she said, you know, David he almost passed out when he went into large settings with people just a few years
Hmm.
ago. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she
Hmm.
said, that was the whole reason he started everything. Like he would come home and she said, I took him to a concert. He turned ghost white and almost passed out. And they had to book it. Well, when he's not in a setting where he can see what's coming at him and nothing behind him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and being able to control the exit, the entrance, all the things where people's hands are at, the threat,
Hmm.
it's always the threat in their mind. And to watch him go to Blade Show was a monumental growth. The classes every week, is huge. And then he ended up winning the Jackie Onassis Kennedy Service Award, the gold medal, the first one in our area to ever get that medal. And
Hmm.
to talk in front
That's
of
amazing.
like the who's who of the Lima community, that's a testament of what this program can do for people. And there are a lot
Yeah.
of people that have come through that. There's
Hmm.
29 of them actually that we've saved from
Yeah. That's
taking their lives, and that
that's
really,
amazing.
those are the success stories, and we
I
can't
was
share
about to
them
say
all.
that's a wow moment or statement in and of itself for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very rewarding work there. So how did you how did you get involved with that? Well, first, I mean, what came first for you? Bladesmithing or Warrior's Way?
Making, I will say making came first.
Making. Okay, good
I've
enough. Good
always
enough.
been tearing things apart with my hands. That's why I'm kind of in the engineering design world with automation. But I tried to start making knives in my garage maybe, I don't know, like 11 years, wow, maybe 11 years ago, and just really didn't get anywhere. And then I really struggled finding friends that were like-minded. I
Hmm.
was always the crazier one out of the bunch without having to get, obliterated to have fun. Like I was just the wild kid with a lot of energy. And
Yeah.
um, so the last couple years, I'd been really struggling with my place in this world and what to do and what God has my purpose as and all these things.
Hmm.
And I was on Facebook and I had said something about knife making. Well, this one guy looked me up and he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I'm right down the road from you." Like all these things. And I'm like, "That's really creepy." Like that's weird.
Yeah, the
And so
stalker.
and he's like, "Well, I just don't know many knife makers in the area. I'd love to chat and talk." And Chad has actually turned into an amazing friend of ours or of mine, and he told me about Warriors Way, and it took me 8 months, probably 9 months, to get to an event, and it was the Hammerthon in March that they always have every spring. It was that event, and I went. I got to see it. I took my son. I stayed all day into the evening, and I didn't leave until 6 a.m. the next morning because they're like, "Hey, you want a piece of steel and forge with us?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
6
So
a.m.
6 a.m. and none of us slept. Like it was insane. Like they truly took the Hammerthon,
Through
the
the night.
24 hour
Wow.
through the night,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.
And it was the wildest moment. And I looked at Dave the next day and I'm like, "Hey,
Hmm.
how can I get involved? What do you need?" I like to do videos because at the time I was I had just left a job where I did all the videos for one of the divisions. Like I would just do like how-to videos, describe the application that we were on, and so I'm like, well, I can do videos. I can come in. I can maintain the equipment. I'll even sweep the shop floor unless you already have a shop sweeper.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that's been the joke. Like I've literally been the shop sweeper, the maintenance guy, and I talk to people like on the front side for sponsorships and different things, but
Yeah.
I'm rarely ever in a class or a part of the actual day to day.
Okay.
But
So
that's kind of how.
it's really not a which came first. This has kind of just been a part of your maker journey all along. The Warrior's
Yeah,
Way kind of integrated with it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
I was
awesome.
just looking for
That's
friends
that's pretty
to,
unusual. Yeah.
yeah, that,
Well, the maker community, regardless of whether you're doing leather work or blacksmith work or whatever, when you start getting into a community of like-minded makers like that, you generally don't have trouble finding friends. You find people pretty quick that are either close to you in your skill level or like-minded in, your sense of humor and all that. And I mean, some of my best friends um, have come out of the bladesmith blacksmith world, and it's odd to think what it would be like had I never gone into that. You know, all these connections that I've made would just have disappeared or not happened. You know, and that's I think that's a really underrated aspect of being a maker. I was actually putting together a list not long ago to do a video, and like the topic of my video was going to be the top 10 benefits of being a maker, and one of them was just like you make friends, you know, and
Yeah,
it's pretty like you and I think the first time you and I met in person was at Blade Show.
that was the blade show I was talking about earlier. Yep.
Yeah, and I think we had talked over Facebook a few
I was
times
trying to
before
buy the
then.
hammer. I was
Yeah,
trying to buy
and you
that
bought
hammer.
the hammer and I brought it to the Blade Show, and I remember you running up at Blade Show to my table and you were just this massive bundle of energy, you know. It's like a little bit overwhelming at first, which was fine, you know. But since then, you know, we've kept in touch and become good friends, and that's a great benefit of the maker community. So it's interesting to hear that Warriors Way wasn't a first or a second in your maker journey as a bladesmith. It's kind of been a an integrated thing all along. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how many people are at Warriors Way?
Well, it's me and Dave on the
And
front
we
side.
should have had Dave on here. I didn't mean to exclude Dave. I just reached out to you because I know you and I got your cell number and all that. And I just sent you a message like, hey, do you want to do an interview? So please tell Dave he wasn't excluded on purpose. You know, it was just kind of the way it happened.
The joke is I'm his emotional support animal when he doesn't feel like doing like the public eye view stuff.
Yeah.
That's truly why I'm here. Like the yin and yang is like Dave
Okay.
works with the veterans.
Yeah. Well, good because I'm not a veteran, so that works out great. So anyway,
But so
so
then
it's
we've got
you and Dave.
yep, and then we have Michelle is on the board and his wife, and then we have Dave McConnell of Northwoods Forge up in Michigan. He's the CEO. He kind of oversees to make sure everybody's doing their thing from
Hmm.
afar, not necessarily in it, but in it type thing.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
so that we have that outside view, making sure that David and I aren't taking our donors' monies and putting it into my shop, putting it into his
Yeah.
shop, and we're getting these massive things at home, and then the shop that we go do our thing in, it's barren and there's nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just that checks and balances that we're doing the right things with the money that we receive. We're having classes when we say we're having classes. The
Yeah.
donated
Keep it all above
material,
board. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. And then
Gotcha.
outside of that, it's all volunteers.
Hmm.
So people we
That's
met in
cool.
classes and different things. So
So I was looking on the website and it looks like there are donor classes like a beginner's class, intermediate class, advanced corporate class. Um, what what are those levels? What do you get in those different classes? Like what does your
so
typical beginner's class look like?
So our typical beginner's class looks like just taking a bar of steel, quarter inch, 5/32, 6 inches long, and he'll forge out a drop point hunter, camp knife, something like
Hmm.
that. Or we've been using the 1080 rail spikes, the
Oh
actual
yeah, from
the ones
Charles.
from the
Yeah,
ones
at
from Charles.
Atlas.
Yes,
Nice.
so we'll do those, and we've got a power hammer, so it's really nice, and it's actually really efficient to just get those done underneath the hammer and by hand. And then once you get into those intermediate and advanced, intermediate would be more like a hidden tang or forged Damascus already, and you make a blade from a billet of Damascus, or a canister only class, or
Okay.
Damascus only class.
I just had a
They'll
I just had a sorry to interrupt. I just had a squirrel moment. I can't remember what is the power hammer? in the
The
class?
So we ended up, Dave. We're always scouring because we're working from a limited budget. He found a old school like second generation um, Big Blue 110, and
Okay.
he got it for like $2,300, and it was like
Wow. Okay.
it was
Yeah.
like we both looked at each other. He rented a truck, drove down there, picked that thing up, and then we got it back, and we're like, we need an air compressor now. It was
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
oh crap.
Yeah. That's just half the expense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting that, but we'd really like to get our hands on a couple more in the big shop. But yeah, that's
Nice.
lofty
So
goals.
in a beginner's class, do you have them on the power hammer?
We're working towards that. David has to get a little more comfortable with it, but
Yeah.
in some of those
I
rail
wasn't
spikes, yeah.
suggesting that you should or shouldn't. I was just curious. Yeah, I was
It,
just curious if you did. It's interesting in your beginner's class, you're teaching these people how to forge a knife and start an argument because you're using railroad spikes. That's awesome.
yeah,
But these are actually, like you said, these are real railroad spike. I mean, these are real 1084
yeah,
knife steel shaped. It's a railroad spike shaped chunk of 1084. Yeah, that's
right,
awesome.
right, right. Yeah.
That's cool. And so then you just progress to like intermediate class. If do you require them like, hey, you can't come and do the intermediate unless you've done our beginner?
Okay,
Is that kind of
so
a thing?
going from when we started to where we are now, like there you went at first inception, the first year there was like 20 people that came through the program the entire year. And then that number stayed pretty steady for the first 4 years, and then that was 2016, and then up until like 2021 it jumped to 150, and then 200, and then 450, and now this last year in 2024 we hit over 700 people through the doors at Warriors Way, and
Wow.
it's insane. Group classes, group events, and different things, getting people through the shop. Like we quickly outgrew the building we're in, but we had to go back to answer your question. We had to go back and say, listen, if you're a beginner, you can't just, because it's all free. Like, and I forget to say that everything's free for veterans and first responders, and donor classes are what helps pay for things.
Yeah.
But
And so
we
real
just don't
quick,
want you doing that. Yeah, going to
define donor class. What do you mean by that?
donors class means anybody who is not a veteran, a first responder, or a youth. If you fall out of those three categories, we just ask for a donation, so that way all of the
Okay.
material that we get donated or buy goes back to the people we're trying to serve.
Yeah. Okay. And so do you have people that are donating like class tuition to you guys? Like people are saying, "Hey, I see what you guys are doing with veterans and I want to give some money to that. So here's three class tuitions for people." Is that how it works or is it different?
No, not like, we don't have community members typically doing that, but we do have, like, Pop's Knife Supply has been a ginormous sponsor of the classes for the quarter.
Mm, that's
We break it
awesome.
up into 4 quarters, and they send a box of material. They
Yeah.
send belts, steel, epoxy, handle material, and then,
That's
like,
awesome. So they deserve a shout out for sure here.
oh,
So get your stuff from
absolutely.
Pop's Knife Supply. I've ordered
Yeah,
from them before too. They're great, and I've talked to them at a number of different shows, Blade Show and
yeah.
all that. They're fantastic.
They have supported Dave for a really long time.
That's
And
awesome.
then, yeah, so, and then in the last couple of years, we've had quite a few sponsors come on and for big events, and it's amazing. But the classes themselves, Pops Knife Supplies actually donates per quarter for those, and we couldn't
Oh
thank them
wow.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Hmm, that's awesome. Um, so we talked about what Warriors Way is, kind of the class structure. um, what are the biggest challenges you guys are facing right now besides the move? That's obviously a big challenge, but like what's a constant challenge? Is it money? Is it
it,
what is it?
it just to break it down, it's money. I mean, everything runs on money in this
Mm,
world. You hate to say it, but even more so in a nonprofit, because we don't have a revenue source.
yeah,
Most of most of the times, the knives we make, we're donating them to nonprofits in town, like Whitetails Unlimited. It's a youth outdoor program.
yeah,
We'll take the knives and we'll donate them to them so they can auction them off and raise money for that nonprofit. But we're constantly in the deficit. Every
mm,
time we walk into that building and use something, it's money out. It's
yeah, yeah,
donations that come out. And so we're always fighting that uphill battle of having to go back every quarter or every 6 months and ask for more money. And
yeah.
sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. They started in a garage and a front lawn. So
Mm,
I mean, if we have to go to resource material, we'll go to secondary material, but we'd like to keep it as close to what you and I would pay to do, or you and I would
yeah,
do in our own shop. We want to do it right. We don't
yeah.
want to instill the wrong thing. So the funding has become, I would say, the largest thing. And then the second thing, it was obscurity, getting our name out there.
Mm,
And then
okay.
in the last couple of years, we've done a lot to get our name out in the community. Huge shout out to the Lima Greater Area United Way. Without them and their support, the funding that they've given us, the
Mm.
Moose Lodges, the Legions, I mean, it's insane the amount of money that they've given us throughout the year.
Lima,
Is
Ohio. They is that the township? Is that what you call it
that's
up there?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
city that we live in and
Okay.
we serve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've always called it Lima. That's probably bad.
everyone does. No, everyone. It's either Lima, Peru, or Lima, Ohio.
Yeah.
Either you know
Huh.
or you don't. So it's
Right.
we hear it all.
Hmm. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Maybe this will help get the word out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Are you guys do you guys do any kind of advertising locally or outside of like
So
social media?
we get a few things, like the news will come out to some of our events and do coverage. The newspaper has done a couple things. The radio will do some spotlights. Facebook, we'll do ads here and there.
Are
But
there Yeah, are there any other like veteran advocacy groups that you've worked with to try to like say, hey, we offer this service or we have this thing, this resource?
so that's a sticky road to go down.
Hmm.
When you're taking government money or uh, those types of fundings, there's a lot of what I want to call red tape or strings attached to those. They want to know exactly where every dime's going, all these things. Not that we're
Yeah.
misusing the money, but it becomes more about the tracking than it
Hmm.
becomes about the people. So we'd
Yeah, I
rather
gotcha.
go from 700 to 400 and have a positive impact on people's lives and just scale the program back
Yeah.
versus having to sell out to something that we don't want to become, nor do we have the time
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to do that. So
Well, that's smart. Yeah. Well, that's really smart. Hmm. Okay. Let's shift just a second. I know that you're also involved with a company. Another company, not your day job, not Warriors Way. You're also involved with a company called Palmgren Tools, and
yeah,
they're a USA based tool supplier. Is that right? Or equipment.
yes, yeah.
Now, how do they manufacture that here? How
Some
does all
stuff is
that work? Do you
manufactured
know?
here. Some of it's here, and some of it's
Imported?
some of
Yeah.
it's imported. And I don't know where all of it's from. And it's funny you ask how that all started. They came and drove because Dave emailed them a ton to get support because they have industrial equipment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they drove a truck full of 2x48s with belts from Illinois all the way over here, surprised David in the middle of a class, set him up. They went from 1x30s to 2x48s in the class, and by the end of the day, they were grinding on them and working on the
Huh.
equipment, and they just
Wow.
dropped it off because they found out who we were, and we hear a lot. Your story's too good to be true, and all these things, and they got through that, and they're a faith-based company, and they saw it in the goodness of their hearts to come out and do that, and they've been a sponsor from, I think it was 2020
Oh
on.
wow. Okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
they're a faith-based business and they saw you guys and thought, "Hey, this is basically a ministry opportunity. We can partner alongside." And these guys look like they're doing good work and they showed up with a truckload of belt sanders.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it
awesome.
is pretty
That's
cool.
that's a good way that's how a partnership should start. So
Yeah.
all of you, anybody else running a company that happens to see this video, this is how you start a partnership.
uh,
You
it
you can't
was
go wrong.
it like Dave's not he's not a big emotional guy. I mean, you've met him. Like, I
Yeah.
am 100%. I carry the room in our conversations with emotion and energy. Dave is even keel and steady forward, and he even said, like you ask him now, he was blown away, and then that partnership and friendship only grew, and they would always say, "Hey, whatever you need, give us a call, email us. We've got you." And Dave, we didn't really do anything because our numbers weren't that big, and I wasn't even there yet. And then when I came about 3 years ago, we started talking to him. We got a mill. They ended up giving us a mill and
Mm,
a giant mill drill machine, and it was cool because Dave's working on his ABS, and he's going to have to mill out some stainless steel, and the Harbor
okay.
Freight
Yeah.
one is not going to cut the mustard. So
Yeah. So,
they
do they have a particular area that they specialize in? I looked at their stuff just a little bit, and I know they've got belt grinders and bench top sanders and bench grinders and drills and vices, but are they known for a particular type of tool, or are they just they've got them all?
their work holding was the like where it kind of I think where it kind of started.
Okay.
Vices, like, you'll see them on marketplace all the time. The Palmgren vices, the
Yeah.
giant 6-inch, 8-inch milling vise. That
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the same company like that, and
Gotcha.
they've progressed into the ball vices that they have now, and all of the 8-inch vices. But they're more they've always been like the industrial tool. So, like, your general machine shop, your general metalworking fabrication, like, that is more where their equipment is geared towards.
Yeah.
And then after working with us, they're like, "Oh, well, what?" And I knew them from my old job. Like, I knew Palmgren. So they were kind of like, "Well, there's a market." And so ever since then, and how I got hooked up with Palmgren was they've given us so much equipment over the last 5 years. I mean, the least we can do is spread their name, talk to the other makers if they're getting
Yeah,
equipment. You
absolutely.
know, they made a code for us. Like, we don't get any money. It's just literally for the makers. They made a code
Mm,
to give the makers that follow us and support us. Hey, use Warrior,
I
and
got
I
you.
think
So
it's
if you need to buy a
15%.
if you need a multi-joint ball vise or something, you could
Yeah,
use a code and get a discount on it or
get
something.
a
That's
discount, and
cool.
then it's just to say thank you. And then from there, I got involved because of my day job, that business acumen of building networks and sales and different things that I do on a daily basis. The marketing guy and I, we kind of just hit it off, Ryan and I.
Mm,
And then before I knew it, we started doing video. Like, he started asking for content, and then it turned into, hey, let's do a video vlog series. And that video vlog series turned into, hey, Jeff, we're going to sponsor you. We're going to start sending you a few things here and there. If you could talk about them, if you like them, say you like them. If you don't like them, say you don't like them. Like, don't just
Don't pull your
don't
punches.
hold
Yeah.
back. Yeah, don't hold back just because you want to support us. That you giving honest feedback and just telling everybody what you think. That's kind of where it came from. And honestly, it's the weirdest thing to say that I have 575 followers and I have like I don't accept many friends on Facebook because it's more like my family stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's weird to say, "Hey, I'm sponsored by a tool company," and it's more to give them that
Well, they're breaking
thank you
into
backers. Yeah.
yeah, and they're breaking into a market that they haven't been in before. Bladesmithing, blacksmithing, I'm I'm starting that same kind of relationship with this CNC company, Forest CNC. They're bringing a table to me, and they're an old company. They've been doing CNC routers uh, and lathes and other stuff since 1989, but they're not
Wow.
really. They have almost no presence on social media. They don't have an Instagram. There's just not much, and they're not. They're just. And I talked to the CEO. I think it was the CEO I was talking to, and he was telling me, you know. Um, I don't think they've had to do that because they've had so much business and they've done so well in some other spaces. But now they're seeing these opportunities in spaces like blacksmithing and bladesmithing where they're totally not visible at all. And I'm hoping to I'm offering to help them not only just show what they've done for me with the table, but
Yeah.
I want to help them as a company. Like I want to introduce them to the social media world and teach them what I know about it and kind of help them take off in that way. There's a lot of companies I think that are out there that are doing great stuff and making great products, but they still aren't super visible, in the social media spaces.
Yeah, I know 100%. Like that is CH Hansen. People don't even know like CH Hansen was the parent company and they've got Superior Tool and I feel like I'm missing something else, but like Palmgren is who we know, but it's the same thing. Like they're known in the industry, the
Hmm.
manufacturing world, and that kind like
Probably in the automotive
my day,
world.
yeah, like the manufacturing facilities, like the industry,
Hmm.
like that type of industry. And but to knife makers and stuff, they don't really know because most of, like you said at the beginning, most knife makers are not fabricators by day. They're the world of makers. You meet some of the craziest people that you're like, what do you do again?
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So, do you have a favorite Palmgren tool right now that's in your shop? You mentioned a
honestly,
vise. I think I saw the vise you were talking about the other day.
so yes, okay. So I'm gonna pan slowly. I just got this stand in. Oh, I just got this stand
Oh my
in. It's
gosh,
quarter
that's a
quarter
buffer.
inch thick, and this variable speed buffer. It's got a universal top on it. This stand, I put this stand together out of the box in three
That's
minutes.
beefy.
That's quarter inch thick all the way through, maybe 3/16 down here. But this has a universal top, so like just about every one of their bench top tools will fit on it. But this variable speed buffer is the cat's meow. I mean, this is it.
Huh.
And I've got these Dedeco wheels on here. They're abrasive. They're abrasive, or no, hold on. They're rubber polymer infused abrasives. It goes from 80 grit all the way up to 6 micron. So I'll take a handle, actually, I'll take a handle off of the machine. I took this off of the machine at 220,
Yeah.
and this, I haven't even finished polishing this yet.
Oh
And like
wow.
this will get to like a glass finish in, I think I did a video with wheel changes. I can do from 80 to 6 micron in like 25 minutes.
Oh wow. That's pretty
And
fast.
it's polished. And so
How
like
high is that
that's
stand?
That stand, well, here, let me.
I wonder if you could put a belt sander on it.
So I was talking to him. You can, but I think the height. Well, if you're not 5'8" like myself, then yes,
Okay. Yeah, I was
you
just
can
looking. It looks like
absolutely.
it might be a little short. Yeah.
It's about 31 and 3/4 off the ground, and
Huh.
it's
It's
the
not,
base
yeah, it's not
is
bad.
17 and 3/4.
I think my tables that my belt sanders are on now are 32.
Okay, so mine is 27 off the ground
Hmm.
now. My 2x72. Um, but then, so, and then to round it out, I love this ball vise.
Yeah, that vise. I saw that the other
Oh
day.
my
That's a monster
gosh.
vise. I like that.
That, so, okay, so you know how, like, when you're sanding, the force, the down force that you get when you're
Yeah.
hand sanding, this vise, after I locked it in place, it didn't budge and it
That
didn't budge at
spins
all.
and pivots and rotates
It's
and all that.
all different axes.
Huh.
So like,
That's cool.
but then it's not. So the thing I love about that is then it's not a devoted knife making vise.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can actually use that for any fabrication that I want to. Anything I
Right.
can hold anything. It's got the pipe clamp at the bottom. I can do whatever I want out of that thing.
Hmm.
And
I do like some of those, like tubular knife vices that have the inserts where you clamp it down. Those are cool, but you're right. They're kind of purpose dedicated to just holding a knife.
oh, I have one. The
Yeah.
vise you're talking about is literally behind it on the workbench. I don't know what to do with it because I would rather use that down clamp, the
Hmm.
piece of wood, like it's instant in and out.
Yeah.
You have to
That's
tape
cool.
it anyway. So like you got to tape the blade anyway. So that I'll just put a screw in the wood and it keeps it from going left and right.
What's the width on the jaws in that vise? Is it
I think that's a
4?
4 inch. I think that's a
Hmm.
4 inch vise. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I mean,
Nice.
they've got vices that, I mean, they're, I think, Jeff, uh, Javos or something. I forget his maker tag, but he's another one of the Palmgren family. Like he's got an 8 inch vice that he got from them. I mean, that
Man,
thing is
that's a monster.
massive.
That's a monster.
Oh my gosh. It's big time. But
Hmm.
I mean, they have so many things. It's so hard to pinpoint, and they're more for general fabrication. And there's some other stuff they're working on, but clearly we'll leave it at that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it sounds like a good partnership with Warriors Way for sure.
Oh yeah,
And the way they showed up for them is outstanding. Worth giving a shout out to for sure.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so what is your favorite tool in your shop? Not the Warriors Way shop, but what's your favorite tool right now?
It's got to be my induction forge, hands down. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying that
yeah,
because you're like the induction king. I saw you. We saw him. Coal Iron had him. Well, Warriors Way actually got one from Amazon, and that thing with the TIG cooler.
yeah, yeah,
And we're like, okay, this is great, but we can't run a class off of it. Now what do we
yeah,
do?
yeah.
And then boom, Coal
You
Iron
got to
had
have
their
the
thing.
coal iron cooler. Yeah.
So huge shout out to the Legion and WAPOC, the VFW. They each one of them bought us a 15 kilowatt to have in the shop, and we run a majority of our classes off of
No,
the
wait. So you
induction
guys
forge.
have, so you have two of the Coal Iron Works machines in there for classes.
Yes, yeah, two
That's
of
that's
them.
how many classes have you guys done using induction?
Oh my gosh, he just did one this weekend. He did two this weekend.
What do the students think about it?
Oh, it's the coolest
I
thing.
don't
I
have to
mean,
ask. I know, you know.
it's crazy to watch these kids' faces light up, like,
Yeah,
or
it
like the
is
guys will
crazy.
come in
I
and they're
like,
like, well,
yeah,
how the heck
people
did
will
that
come
happen?
visit my house. I'll have people that come over to my house and they've they don't know anything about blacksmithing or bladesmithing, and I just like, hey, you got to come here and look at this, and I'll show them the induction machine, put a piece of steel in there, and press the pedal, and every time it's like, what? It's crazy. Yeah, that's neat. There's a lot of people that I'm not a lot of people, but I know several guys that are running uh, facilities where classes are taught, and the primary heat source is induction now.
Oh,
And one of the big reasons is it's not loud. It's a lot safer as far as, fire risk. And it's more efficient from a, fuel perspective. There's just like there are so many reasons why, if you're doing a class setting, why it's like a super, super good option.
oh,
It's you know me, I'll
hands down,
talk all
all of
night
those
about
things.
induction. Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing. Like, so we realized quickly that the one from Amazon and the TIG cooler wasn't going to cut the mustard. So I was like, well, hey, what are you going to do with that thing? And he's like, I
Mm.
don't know. I'm like, I'll buy it.
No.
So I bought that thing as fast as he could say I'll sell it, so
Yeah.
that way we could get the coal iron ones. And so just this last towards the end of last year, I ended up getting my hands on a cooler, the coal iron industrial
Mm.
chiller. Hands down, the best decision I've ever made.
Mm.
Like, out of all the tooling, I mean, the efficiency from the TIG cooler. I made a bucket. I did a radiator. I had a radiator. I had 5 jugs of water in my freezer on standby, because with the amount that I would go heat up, go pound the blade out, come back, and the coil's not being perfectly right. I overheated that thing. I couldn't tell you how many times. Like,
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah, without the chiller. Yeah.
without the
That
chiller.
is that is a great that when Cole Iron decided to do the induction machine and they went with the chiller, that was a super smart idea. They didn't have to do that. They could have brought one to market that was,
Oh, totally.
without it, but that was a super smart thing. And you can't really outwork it, or at least I've not been able to outwork it.
No,
Um,
you can't. Like, literally,
yeah.
you cannot outwork that thing. We put 5 people on 2 machines,
And you haven't had it
and they're more
water alarm
they're
yet, huh?
tired. No,
Yeah, that's awesome.
like, it's insane.
Hmm. Well, that's cool. A good answer. So induction is your favorite tool. That's
Oh,
great.
hands down.
So, um, in your shop when you're working, what are you listening to? So if you've got like a favorite, do you have a favorite podcast or music genre that you listen to?
I've quit
Or
trying to
or do
listen to
you or do you listen to
podcasts.
anything?
No, I quit listening to podcasts because I tune everything out anyways, into that zone. So, like, I'm not
Yeah.
listening to it and I'm just wasting my time back and forth and whatever. I'll typically, my playlist consists of like a Christian mix, like some worship, but then some Christian artists that I love, and then
Okay.
country. My wife turned me into a country fan, and
Oh
then what
man.
people have seen. I know what people have seen small glimpses of is my way past back in college. I taught myself how to dance off music videos, and I bought a couple DVDs. But I taught myself how to dance, and I loved hip hop, not for the words, but for the rhythm and the beat, and just
Yeah.
like, you
Okay.
would see me on campus just dancing down the sidewalk, and like, I'll even break out in a dance in the middle of the grocery store. Like, I've been known to do that. Like, I just
So,
hear things.
so when you're at home forging and you really get into it, you're breaking it down between
Oh,
heats.
if I've got the dance mix on, man, it's go time. Like, I'll just be getting it at.
That's funny.
But yeah, typically those 3 things.
You'll have to set the camera up and make some reels or something of you getting after it in the forge with the hip hop music going. Um,
What with the induction forge, I don't have the time in between heats anymore.
oh, that's right. Yeah, it's just you're done pretty quick. Do you have a personal project that you're working on? Like, do you have a knife in the works or?
Actually, the one I showed earlier.
what's on your bench? Yeah.
So,
What
well,
is
I've
that?
got a. This is a blank that we got from Pop's Knife Supply. The We met this guy and this family at the Whitetails Unlimited banquet that they hosted for us in Wapak. There was unspeakable loss for a couple families. Some children, you know, didn't
Hmm.
make it through some sicknesses, and
Oh gosh.
this family, and I was instantly just inspired and wanted to be a part of something, wanted to be a part of their story, and we got to talking. They they bought a knife. They So the money was coming back is going to come back to our program, but they ended up spending like crazy amount of money on this special gun that could be engraved and a message put on it. Well, they're giving it to this family and that lost their child. And then we got to talking, and I'm like, hey, can we make a knife or something? Can we do something? And so I'm going to take this knife that it's the stock removal, and then I did the handle. It's just going to be a little Santuku.
Hmm.
I'm going to inscribe um, the scripture that he wants here, and then a cupcake because they had something to do with cupcakes. So I'm going to take the fiber laser that we ended up getting, and I'm going to just engrave the snot out of it, and hopefully I get it
All
done by
right.
February. But that's the biggest thing on my bench now, and I've got some twisted Damascus hunters that I've had on my bench for way too long because I have ADHD and I have no time. But I got to
That's
get
that's
those finished up.
that's a typical bladesmith thing. Is there's always multiple projects,
Oh,
around the bench,
oh yeah.
in various stages of completion for sure.
Oh yeah. I got a whole drawer full.
Well, I think we're getting almost close to an hour. So, what what would you like to leave people with? I mean, Warriors Way is a real inspirational place. You guys are doing some amazing work. I want to
Thank
get
you.
up there and see what you guys are doing, especially once you get into the new building. That's really exciting. And yeah, it sounds like you guys have a big year ahead of you.
Yeah, we've got our event, our Hammerthon in March, the 29th and the 30th. That'll be an event where we're going to try to raise some more money for the concrete that we need for the new building. Do some knife
So
raffles.
tell us about that. How do people find out about that?
Warriors Way Facebook or Warriors Way Forge or at Warriors Way Forge on Instagram. If you follow me at Dauterman Jeff, um, I'm always posting stuff for Warriors Way through my account just to make it easier for the transition because time and whatever.
Sure.
So you
Yeah.
can always find us through there. You can always reach out. But warriorsway.org,
Gotcha.
you can always see the carousel that they have going on there. And then our big event for the year is our Expo in November. It'll be, oh goodness, we've changed it so many times because of hunting season and whatever. So we'll get something posted on that. I think it's the 7th this year, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But we'll have stuff posted. Just follow the socials. But the
Okay.
biggest,
Yeah, we'll throw all the links to you and Warriors Way in the description here of the video on YouTube
awesome.
so everybody can find it.
I think the biggest thing that I've found is stop trying to impress the people that you're learning from and let them be impressed with what you've learned from them.
Mm.
I went to a thing where I met Jason Knight for the first time, and I tried to impress him because I watched a million of his things, and I ended up getting in my own head and having a meltdown. And him and Dave had a good laugh about it because Dave walked him through my cycle of like being in my own head. But just like the people that you know on your socials and the people that I've become friends with, we've got some of the most prolific makers that our time has ever seen
Mm.
as friends, as people we
Yeah.
can reach out and talk to face.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
forget how creative you are and how creative we are. as our individual selves and makers, you get lost in it because social media takes that away from you. Use social media for good things, encouragement, uplifting, sharing
Yeah,
stories,
absolutely. Absolutely.
and like that's what I want to leave people with this year. Like,
Mm.
just quit trying to impress everybody and
Well,
let those people be impressed by what you've learned from them.
yeah, and somebody like Jason, I mean, I know him. I don't know him real well, but I know him well enough to say that he's not looking for somebody to come and impress him with stuff, But I guarantee you it means a ton to him if he sees someone trying to do something that he's taught them, or
Yeah,
trying to imitate some blade that he's made popular or something. I'm sure that's extremely meaningful to Jason, and he's such a giving guy to begin with that you know, he obviously likes to give back, and if he sees people that he's taught doing the same, I'm sure that's equally as rewarding. So yeah. Good
totally.
words. Good words. So yeah, we'll throw all those links to Warriors Way, and if you want to shoot me an email sometime with the event schedule, we'll throw that in there too.
Yeah,
Um, just so if people discover the video in the next few months, they'll be able to look and see, when the hammer in is approximately going to be and all that. But man, it's been awesome to catch up with you and talk to you, and again, I can't wait to come and see the new shop and come hang out with you guys. I really want to come and make a hammer in sometime
yeah,
and just hang
absolutely. We'd
out.
love to have you.
That would be a lot of fun. Um, so here I am inviting myself to your place. So it's great.
Well, we've talked about it. You're always welcome. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you are always welcome. It's just the distance for you. So if you can ever make it, you've got a
Yeah,
place to
I'm going to
be.
be up some way, not I'm going to be in Illinois in a couple of weeks with the Midwest Blacksmith Association doing a demo for them February the 5th, it's Valentine's Day weekend, I think. So not looking forward to the cold, but I'll be up in the north
Well, hey, it'll
somewhat
be better than
closer.
it is right now. It's 4 degrees right now. So
Yeah. Ugh. No, thank you. Well, look, this has been great. I appreciate your time.
absolutely.
Thanks for the interview, and thanks for what you guys are doing for veterans. That's God's work. That's amazing stuff. And yeah, keep it up.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome time. See you next time.
Yep. We'll see you later.
Bye.